music in Zimbabwe is thought to have a huge impact in society. What exactly is happening? There are types of genres like dancehall, gospel, soul music. These genres have gone deep into the society of Zimbabwe. What exactly is going on? This film serves the purpose of research, the purpose to go under and identify the problems and effects of music in Zimbabwe. I'm going to meet the producer, Mr. Tammie Bimha, who's going to elaborate on the effects of music. He's going to explain much on it. He's a guru in music. So stay tuned.
Well, I am a music producer, but I think I am a music producer by selection, because I choose the projects that I work on. I think the most notable work I've produced is Dudu Manhenga's, I think the 4 or 5 projects that she's done in the studio. Mainly because I like to be a music producer who is not really a creative producer, but I like to work with in a live band setting where you've got the live drums, the live bass, guitar, keys and all of that. Most of the times when artists come to me, they have a basic arrangement of the music done, and I just input on the overall creativeness of the project. I'll give an example of how I work with Dudu. I like to approach my music production as the listener or as the end product. So I take on the role of the consumer. I take on the role of the person who's going to buy the album. And the way I then critique or make changes on the album is based on the end product or the end user. Because you don't want to create a project that is only interesting for you as a creator, and people are not willing to buy the product at the end of the day. So I have to put on 2 hats. I have to be the music producer working with the artist, helping them to bring out the creativity. And then I also have to put on the hat of the listener who is going to buy the product at the end of the day. People have different tastes. Some people like guitars, some people like drums. So you have to try and bring a balanced approach to your music production. So I produced for Dudu Manhenga. I produced Brian Kadengu's album. Produced a guy from Mozambique, his name is Chenjerai. Several other things that I help in the background. Sometimes on a project I might not be credited as a music producer, but the work I do in the studio, helping out with vocal arrangements, helping out with things like that, that then qualifies me as a music producer. Well, the gift of music for me, I was fortunate enough to have parents who were conscious to the gift. My parents said my gift of music was discovered at the age of 3. When I was 3-year-old, I picked up a small xylophone. Xylophone is, like your African, is your modern marimba. And at 3, I could play tunes by myself. I could form a tune and play along, or I could play along to something. So over the years, primary education in Blawayo, I went into a school that had marimba band. I joined the marimba band. At church, I used to play. Actually, the church instruments used to stay at our house, and so after school I would get home, plug the keyboard, or tomorrow I'd plug the guitar, or tomorrow on the drums. So my childhood was centered around music. I was fortunate enough to have parents who allowed me the flexibility of doing music, and so that influenced me into getting into a career of music. But there are people who have influenced me in my life. I think of note is Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones played a big role in influencing, just listening to his productions. That was when I was a teenager. Most people might not know who Quincy Jones is. Quincy Jones is one of the greatest music producers to ever be. He produced Michael Jackson's Thriller album and so many other projects. And then getting into my 20s, focusing more on the gospel industry, I've got inspired a lot by Aaron Lindsay. He produced for Israel Houghton, produced Martha Munizi, Marvin Sapp, just a lot of guys that he produced. He is still producing as we speak. So those are some of the influences that came my way. And of course, the friends that I grew up with were also friends who inspired me to do better, because we used to listen to music together. So yeah, that's where my influence came from. The thing with me is I'm in love with the way Americans work. I love their the excellence that they put in their projects, and like I've noted that Quincy Jones, Aaron Lindsay, these are all American music producers, and what influences me a lot is how they put their all in every aspect of the project. The songwriting skills, the musicianship, the production, which is the recording, mixing and mastering. It's just a complete, you can't find fault. You can't find fault on the way they are serious about how they do their business, and they're not worried about budgets. They are willing to spend lots of money on a project. I guess at the end of the day, it's because of the market that's in the States, where albums are sold and people buy, and they can make money from that. So it's just the way that they do their things. It's the way they're passionate about their productions. That's what inspires me. And whenever I encounter young producers in Zimbabwe, or guys that love what I do as a sound engineer, I'm always saying to them, it's all about the detail. Put effort in the detail, the product will be right. Get it right the first time. Don't do something and then say I'll fix it later on. Get it right the first time. And that's how the Americans approach things. I mean, we've got African producers who are good as well. I love working with Keith Ferguson, who is the sound engineer for Freshly Ground, who is a mentor as well. Someone also I've learned a lot from. He's that kind of a guy who gets things right the first time. If it's going to cost $1,000, or we need $1,000 microphone to get the voice right, he's willing to spend that kind of money. He's not going to buy a $100 mic and then say, no, I've got the software to do this, and no, just get it right the first time. The thing with music is that music is a very, music hits the emotions. A lot of it's not really the lyrics. Sometimes it can just be a violin. That's why you discover that people are driven to love different genres. It depends on what the music does to your emotion. There are certain songs that you hear a song, you think of your late someone, your late relative, just by hearing that song, and you start crying, and you're wondering, but why is this person crying? But it's got links. It's almost like music is psychological. There are certain songs that you listen to them now, it takes you back to when you were a child. You hear a rhyme, or you hear kids singing. It takes you, you're an adult, you're a 34-year-old, and suddenly you find yourself thinking of the time when you were 4 years old. So the reaction to music is not defined on one element. It's not just the lyric, it's not just the beat. It's anything that a person is just able to tap into. If it's spiritual music, or if it's gospel music, sometimes it's a song that testifies what you've gone through. So a song like that, you think of where you've been, how you got through it, and how God was able to bring you out of it. And so that song has that element for you. It can be a song of remembrance, to say I used to be here and now I'm here. Some songs are songs where it's a song of encouragement. It can be the lyrics talking about encouragement, or sometimes it's just watching a musician play can be encouraging as well, because you know how it is. Sometimes you're sitting in the church and you are just admiring the saxophone player, and just him playing does things to you. You get emotional, or you're encouraged, you get inspired. So music has just got a wide spectrum of ways in which it can affect us. So it's either it invokes memory, or excitement, encouragement, or you feel like crying, it makes you happy, it makes you sad, you know, different emotions. Music is a trendsetter. If you look at the history of hip-hop, actually, well, I read this a while ago, so my memory might not be as great as it was. But when they talk about the history of hip-hop, they say when hip-hop started, or when rap music started, it was all about the black awareness, the activism. So they used to use that as a way of, you know, voicing out. So they would rhyme it out, and it was all poets who coming together, poetry and all of that. So it was trying to get a message across. And then when you move into, that was like in the 60s, 70s, early 80s. And then when we got into the mid-90s, it turned into entertainment. And from entertainment, it's grown to now where there's rivalry, where there's violence that erupts from music, from hip-hop. You know, there's people who are against each other, and they're putting that in their music. So music has that power to change or create new cultures. In Zimbabwe, we are in the dancehall era, where everything is about dancehall. You go to dancehall shows, if people are not happy with the performance on stage, they are throwing cans. Across town, you are at a classical event where people don't like the performance, they're not throwing anything. So music has this thing where it can invoke either violence, or it can invoke peace. You look at the story of South Africa, or even here in Zimbabwe during our independence time, where music was used as a way of soothing, bringing calm, and you know, it just, someone can just start a song or a chanty song, and you feel like running into the street and throwing just by a chant, and you know, it just invokes this just by a song. You know, they don't have to come and say run into the street. Just hey, hi, hey, whatever. You know, it just you feel like just, you know. So music has the power to do that. And then on the lighter side, music has the power to make a baby go to sleep. A lullaby. You know, just humming a little peaceful tune and a baby falls asleep so peacefully. That's the power of music.
I have been in the music industry for the past 18 years. Makes me very old. But I think the style that, how I would define the style of music that I do is Afro-jazz fusion. Afro-jazz fusion, because it's got an African influence, and it was a jazz influence, and here and there we fuse other styles to produce just a unique sound, and based on also the music that I like listening to, that I've been grown up listening to. Grew up in a very musical family. Both sides of my family, but the paternal and the maternal side of my family are very musical. but I grew up mainly with the maternal side of my family, where during gatherings people would meet and music would be played. My grandmother actually, my mother's mother, used to be an organist in the Presbyterian church. You know, the organ that's played that with your feet, the old ones, that's what she used to play. My grandfather played sax and guitar, and the last one in my mother's family plays an accordion up until now, and everyone sings there. So we grew up listening to music a lot. And then on Sunday morning, my mother would blast Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton, you know, the old stuff. So I grew up, and yeah, and then they would play the jazz, you know, Kwela music and all that. So growing up, you're listening to all that stuff, and it's kind of tailors your taste. So I was never the young person who liked the latest thing. Even in school, though, being a very academic person, I was always found within the art side of the school. So it sort of grew in, and opportunities then opened. In that, for example, in high school, I was at St. Columbus High School, which is next to Amakosi Theatre. And so being next to Amakosi Theatre, I would pass by there singing and hanging around with people until a certain gentleman called Handsome Mabiza. He's late now, my father. That man is like really my father, because I think fathers have a role to empower children. So he just empowered me, gave me music to listen to, gave me the likes of Tammie, you know, Tammie, who sang Yakhali Nkomo. This guy's recorded as A as 1969. He gave me Dolly Radebe, he gave me the Miriam Makebas, he gave me the Winston Mankungus, you know, the old South African music, and I was listening, and he grounded me like that. The Ella Fitzgeralds, he said, listen to these voices. I don't want you to be a crazy person who sings just everything. So he began to tailor my taste that way. By the time I was 16, I was already in a band, singing Afro jazz, singing gospel, and already, you know, just kind of being led in that direction. Then when I then moved to Harare at the age of 19, I came here and I worked with Domingo Nube. I came and I worked with Albert Nyati. I worked with, I think my prime really was working with Tango Ekwasando and Oliver Mtukudzi. How the music affects people is because sometimes we are standing and we're speaking, we're saying, you're thinking that you're singing your own personal experience or from a neighbor, but you're covering 100,000 other people who feel that way. There wouldn't be church without music. Because if we look back from right at the beginning, God created it. And there was one guy in heaven who would produce music, and it would cause the very presence of God to come. Music in itself has got so many qualities. It's extremely therapeutic because you sing a song and you are singing and somebody's beginning to reflect, and it's sometimes not even about the words you're singing there, it's about where the song has taken someone back to. You are singing Nyabonga and the person is thinking, do you know that this week I was this close to being evicted? And just right on time, God came through for me. So when they are saying Nyabonga Nkosi Jesu, they're not really thinking about the words, they are thinking of an experience. That's how you go to a funeral and you sing Haku Atina Mushaba Nika. And then you think that people are crying because they are sympathizing with you who has lost a relative. You're thinking, no, this song was sung right when Box Ramayabangu was being lowered down into the grave. So music triggers emotions and causes people to react out of the experiences that they've had. So church would not be church if there wasn't music, because then how else would we express our worship to God? How else would we tell Him in a beautiful way? I think that's the other side, that beside the message that it carries, but just the beauty, the aesthetic value that it has, the beautiful side of the voices coming together in harmonies, of how human beings can, one can tune to that note and the other, and suddenly there is a chord coming out of the different voices. Just the beauty that it brings. Maybe one thing that we've always neglected is that music is a spiritual thing. When you hear, have you noticed that when you wake up in the morning and the first song if you hear the song, you spend the whole day trying to get it out of your mind.
Yes.
So it goes and it imprints on your spirit and on a certain part of our memory that we are stuck with it in us. Also, having been a mother and carried babies, you will be amazed at how so many times I would sing for my children in the bed, and when they are born, I deliberately sing that song. You see the child trying to pay attention, and they're like, I know that sound, I've heard that sound, I've heard that sound. And so music has been used. We haven't even begun to explore it here in Africa, in Zimbabwe. Music therapy, where you go to some places, you go and you're singing for people who are unwell, like what David would do with Saul, who had his demons that were tormenting. But the moment he would play, he would sedate them. Tula tu, tula baba, tula sana. Lullaby.
Do you want to teach me that?
Yeah. Tula tu, tula baba, tula sana. Let's do that again. Tula tu, tula baba, tula sana.
Okay.
Again. Tula tu, tula baba, tula sana.
Okay.